What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hey, I'm Crystal with an I, and as you can already tell by the title of this video, it's gonna be a story time, how I found out I was adopted. I say adopted in quotations because it was more of a handoff your child, take some money kind of deal, not legally adopted, if that makes any sense. Disclaimer: this is the story how I remember it in my personal experience. There are three sides to every story: his, hers, and the truth, or his and the truth, hers, and the truth, whatever. This is just my version. I grew up very spoiled, so I don't want anyone to think that this is like, oh my god, she hates that family that adopted her. No. And I have contact with my biological sisters and some contact with my biological mom. No hate there either. Everyone has their reasons for doing what they do, and it's a part of the past. Nothing that I do now will change it. Therefore, there's no point in me saying or doing anything about it now because it has already happened, and I just wanted to make that clear. So this is a get ready with me. I already did my eyeshadow, but I'm just gonna do my face on camera because the eyeshadow and talking was just not gonna work for me. So let's just go ahead and start. I'm gonna take the Fenty Beauty primer. So I guess I'll just start by saying, or from the beginning kind of. I was born in California. We lived here for a little bit. Then my parents at some point went to Mexico. I did preschool and first grade and kindergarten there. And then there was like a short period where we were in Oregon. My dad was like a field worker. My mom was just a stay-at-home mom. As far as I remember, I don't remember her working. Around the time that I was 8, we were currently in that time living in Oregon, and we went to Mexico because my dad got a phone call that my grandma was sick. So we went to Mexico to see her, and she passed away, but my mom also got sick while we were there, and they actually passed away within 2 days of each other. Did the funeral services and everything over there for both of them. Then when we came back from Mexico, we went straight to Oregon, if I remember correctly. My dad was working. I was going to school up there. Then maybe she passed away when I was like 6 or 7, because I came here for 4th grade, and I think in 4th grade you're like 8 or 9. I don't know. We moved to California, moved in with my aunt and uncle, and I started 3rd or 4th grade here. Again, I don't remember that much. This is just like the things I remember here and there. We moved here. I started school here, moved in with my aunt and uncle, and everything was good, you know, we were good. My aunt and uncle were fine. My dad was good. He kept working. During December, we would take vacation to Mexico. I never really celebrated Christmas here until I met my husband. yeah, my husband. And everything was good around the time that I turned 15. No, somewhere in the time that I was 15, my dad got really sick. He was diabetic, but this was like something other than the diabetes. He like lived with type 2 diabetes for all of his life, or at least all that I could remember. He would inject himself with the insulin in the stomach, and I would watch him, and I thought it was like, I don't know, I was fascinated by it, and like how he didn't move, flinch or anything. Anyway, around the time that I was 15, he got sick. He started going in and out of hospitals. I think the first time that he got really sick, he was working at the tomato factory or cannery or whatever you want to call it. And he actually like passed out, and like work themselves had to take him to the emergency room. And then they kind of told him like, you have to take a leave, you can't like be working here. And work was like, you know, other than me, was his only entertainment, I guess you could say. He only had like 1 day off a week. He kept pretty busy. So once that job ended and he couldn't work there anymore, he started going to the doctor like more frequently. Come to find out that he needed dialysis. You don't know what dialysis is. They basically, they pump your blood and clean it for you, which is what something else is supposed to do. I don't remember. And you sit there for like an hour or two. So during my like sophomore year of high school, I would leave school early and go sit with him in dialysis because either nobody else could or nobody wanted to. I don't know. He started dialysis one day. From the dialysis, I don't think that I went that day. I think I actually stayed in school that day. But I want to try this. But he ended up actually being taken to the hospital because something happened at the dialysis. Like he passed out, or I don't know, they had to call an ambulance. So he ended up in the emergency room. From the emergency room, it escalated to him having to be admitted into the ICU. And then in the ICU, he just progressively got worse. And he had to be intubated. He couldn't really say or do anything. And we would visit him. Now, he had a cell phone. And this cell phone, I had it with me while he was in the ICU because, well, he wasn't going to use it. Obviously, he's intubated. He can't talk to anyone. Prior to him being put in the ICU while he was still doing dialysis, there was this lady that would always call. We'll just call her Bio. And I remember one day he was like talking to her, and I went into the room and I wanted something. I don't remember what the heck I wanted or why I was bugging him in the first place, but I went in the room and I was trying to talk to him and he wouldn't answer me. And then I was like, why are you always talking to that stupid lady? And he was like, don't talk about her like that. Obviously, this was all in Spanish, not in English, but he just yelled at me and I got mad because like when you yell at me, depending on who you are, I either have a full on like, you know, like I just go off on you, or I walk away, or yeah, like, I don't know. Like I either walk away and it's like, well, fuck you then, or I like go off. Obviously, I wasn't gonna yell at my dad, so I just walked out. And I was like, whatever. Anyways, back to ICU. So at the time we were visiting, it was like we would all go visit, but in the ICU, I'm not sure if they're all like this, but at the time here, it was only 2 people could go in at a time. So that day, one day that we went to go visit, it was me my cousin, my other cousin, and my aunt. I know this is complicated, but I don't like calling my cousins because they're older than me, and so I just call them my aunts, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah. So we're gonna call her, so my aunt that we lived with, which was my two cousins' moms, we'll just call her Maddie. And then we were with her daughter, which we'll call Vicky, and with her other daughter, which we'll call Rain. Vicky and Maddie went in to see my dad first, and me and Rain went to go sit in the ICU waiting room and basically wait for them to be done. Now, as we were sitting there, I had the phone and I don't remember what I was doing. I think we were just sitting there. We were either talking or we were just like kind of hanging out, whatever. His phone rings, and it's that lady that was always calling him on the phone before he ended up in the ICU. And she's been calling, but I never like answered it, and like I never said like, oh, he's sick, he's in the hospital, just because I didn't feel like talking to her. I didn't care. Like, my dad yelled at me because of her, so it was like, no, my dad yelled at me because of you, I don't want to talk to you, you know? So I never bothered to tell her. I never bothered to ask him who it was, even after he yelled at me. I didn't really care much. So the phone starts ringing when I'm in the ICU waiting room with Rain. And I was like, ugh, you know, teenager, typical teenager, annoying sigh, or whatever you want to call it. And she's like, who is it? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's this lady named Bio, and she's like always calling my dad, and they're always on the phone, and because they were prior to him ending up in the ICU. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, Bio. And then I told her about the time that I was trying to talk to him, and like he yelled at me because he was on the phone with her, and he said that I wasn't allowed to say anything about her like that, and blah blah blah. And she was just like, what? Like, and I just remember her eyes like turned red and like watery, but then she didn't cry. I think it was more of like an angry or frustrated, I don't know what she was feeling in that moment. This is just what I remember. But she was like, let me tell you something. And I'm like, okay, what is she gonna tell me? Like, is this my dad's girlfriend or something, you know? I didn't care if he had a girlfriend. I didn't really, I don't know. I wasn't one of those children that was like, no, you can't move on, you can't live your life. I just didn't care. And she was like, let me tell you something. And I'm like, what the hell is she gonna tell me? So I'm like waiting. She's like, don't you ever answer the phone to that lady. And I was like, okay. She was kind of angry about him, like frustrated, angry, whatever. She's like, don't you ever answer the phone to that lady. And I was like, why? She's like, because that's your real mom. And I was like, what? Wait, what do you mean? Like, I don't think I answered. I think I just kind of froze. And like in my head, I was like, but my mom died when I was like 8 or whatever, however old I was. And she was like, that's your real mom. When, or well, that's how she said it. I think, obviously the words aren't exact. This was years ago. Again, I was like 15, 16. And after she told me, like, that's your real mom, she was like, my aunt and uncle couldn't have kids. So when they found out that she was pregnant, they told her, because they found out that she wasn't gonna keep you, they told her if she would keep you, that they would pay her money and take care of her. Stupid cars. They would pay her money and take care of her until you were born. And I was kind of just sitting there like, what the fuck? Like, just takes money and like And I was like, okay. And she's like, so when she got pregnant from you, she wasn't gonna have you, and they offered her the money, and then she agreed because they couldn't have kids. My mom couldn't have kids because she had a heart condition. Basically, a pregnancy was life-threatening. So then that's when they made the deal with Bio to keep me, and they would pay her. So she's telling me, yeah, the deal was that she keeps you, they pay her, they support her through the pregnancy, and she hands you over when you're born in exchange for money. And in that moment, I felt my like eyes fill with like water, but I didn't cry because I kind of like stopped and I thought about it, and I wasn't even sad. I was more so angry. I don't know why I was angry, you know, like I said, I was like 15, 14, 15, whatever, 16, something like that. I'm 30 now. That was in 2003 because he passed away in September. And I'm sitting there and she's telling me all this, and my eyes like filled with water, but I didn't cry. I was like, I stopped in the middle of, I was about to cry, and I kind of got more angry, and it was just like, what the fuck? Like, and you know, like, you ever just like get mad and like you start like, not like you think you're putting shit together in your head, but really you're just making shit up in your head. So in that moment, I was like thinking back because I had cousins and that's who I would hang out with, but they were also buttholes and they would bully me. And I'm like, oh my God, all this time, these little effers knew that I was adopted, and that's why they treated me like this. And then like a bunch of stuff just started like coming to my head, and I'm like, oh, this all makes sense now, and like this is why this and that and this happened, and basically going crazy in my own head by myself because I'm not one to really talk to anyone about anything. I kind of just keep it to myself. Occasionally there's things where like I'll share, but not too much because, well, I don't know, I just don't like to. I'm over here like, you know, running through my mind a million things, and Rain is just sitting there, and she's like so mad, and she's like, don't ever answer the phone to her, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, dude, like, what is wrong with this lady? Like, how could she like not keep me? Why would she do this? And obviously, angry child. I think I've said that like 50 times. But like, I remember after that, I like was so mad that I stopped visiting my dad like for a while, and I never like questioned. Like, I went into the room that day when she told me, and I just stood there. Like, I didn't even like, I don't remember if I went near him or not. I don't think that I did, but I kind of just stood there. I brought my blush too freaking close to my mouth. And I never even like questioned if she told her mom, her mom and her sister that she told me. I kind of just like went on with my life and just didn't like visit him for a while, until finally one day my aunt was like, I know you're mad because you didn't know. So I guess she did tell her that she told me. Again, I know you're mad because you didn't know, but you can't blame him because your mom and your dad gave you a good life and they've always taken care of you, which was very much true. The word no was not in my vocabulary. It has never been. Till this day, it still isn't. If someone doesn't get it for me, I get it for myself. Like, the word no doesn't exist. I find a way, I make a way, or someone finds a way and makes it for me, I guess you can say. I'm very spoiled by my husband, but and by myself because I work and, you know, all this here. He thinks I buy nonsense, but he still buys it. Yeah, so she told me, she was like, they give you a good life, and you know, if you want to talk to Bio and have a relationship with her, like, obviously you can. No one's gonna stop you, especially now that you know. And at that point in time, my dad had moved out of the ICU already. He was what they said, like, he was what the doctors had said. He was recovering. He was to come home the day that we were supposed to go pick him up from the hospital. They called us and said, you guys need to come in now because we've brought him back 3 times today and we think that it's time for you guys to just come say goodbye. We were like, and we had just went to go buy him the clothes to come home, so like, oh, okay. Like, I answered the phone because my aunt doesn't, like, she understands English, but she obviously doesn't speak it, and it was just me, her, and my cousins at home. It was September. I think it was a Sunday, actually. I don't think we were in school, because were we in school, all of us wouldn't have been home. And we went to the hospital, and sure enough, we got there, and like, you can tell that he was like so tired, and he kept pulling out the oxygen. He didn't want to deal with it anymore. My cousin went next to him and was giving him water with like the little sponge. And at that, I'm not like great at dealing with like stuff that's happening. Like, I kind of just block it out and try to continue with life and ignore it. And if it like catches me, like if it hurts me, I'll break down on my own time and keep going for everyone else, if that makes sense. So the day that he passed away, I had to go call everyone, and it was just a mess. But like, imagine just finding out that your parents weren't your parents, and then your parents passing away, so you can't even ask them questions. Obviously, now that I'm older and I have my own kids, I would not waste my time asking him anything, because I have children, and a parent isn't someone that gives you life. It's someone that raises you and is there for you. Like I said, I still have occasional contact with my biological mom. I talk to my sister, who is actually 1 year and 2 months younger than me. So there's that. I mean, I've only met my younger biological sister like in person once, but we do talk on the phone. She lives here in California. My bio mom lives in Arizona, along with my other little sister. I believe I have 4 younger sisters, all within years of each other. My sister has kids that are around my kids' age, so I don't know like the whole how my mom ended up pregnant, like, or why she didn't want to keep me. Like, you know, it could have been something traumatic for her. She could have not been stable enough, which would all have been understandable. I'm grateful for my mom and dad. I'm sure someday, if she feels like it, my bio mom will tell me exactly what happened, but I'm also not going to push her to do so, because that's her business. She didn't throw me into a bad life. She found someone that would give me the best chance, and I'm grateful for that. I actually haven't talked to her lately. My story is probably scattered all over the place. Sorry, but like, this is like the first time doing a story time. I honestly don't even think that I've told my kids yet, or like, I don't think I've told my kids this specific story. I tell them things about my mom and dad here and there, or they'll ask here and there. They're not like super into it because they do have one of my close friends whom I actually met when I had my first son in 2020. He was born in 2010. I think I met her 2011 because he was already a few months. She would take him home to her parents, and to them, that's their grandparents. But they still see pictures of my mom, pictures of my dad. And they do ask here and there. See, I'm not good at story times. I got completely distracted and like skipped some steps. I don't know if you can tell, but on this eye, I put a white base shadow before I put on the glitter. And then on this eye, I forgot to put the white base and just put it on like that. But I mean, it's fine. No one's gonna be able to tell. You know, it's great that my mom and dad like took me from someone else. Now every time that someone in my family does dumb shit or something embarrassing, my excuse is, I don't know, I'm adopted. So it all works out, honestly. I love it. I'm sure that my bio mom had a reason, but my mom and dad were great and I wouldn't change anything. I was very spoiled and I am very thankful for them. So yeah, hope you guys liked the story time, even though it was scattered and all over the place, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye.